Did you get the time? 4 o'clock. Okay. All right. Go back to the agenda. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Are there any changes, any discussion?
Yep.
All right, seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right. Are there citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to number 4. Actually, before we go to number 4, let's go around and introduce the board members so that we all make sure we know each other and who we are. So we'll start with you.
I'm Tom Brady, the former quarterback. I retired and shrunk a little bit. I'm Doug Kelly.
I'm Stephanie Chill. I'm president of Clearwater Sister Cities, Inc.
I'm Pam Benton. I'm the representative from the Pinellas County School Board.
I am Lena Teixeira, and I'm on the city council, and I'm not related to Jack Teixeira.
Thank you for clarifying.
I'm just making sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rob Cantor. I love Clearwater, Florida. I live here with my wife and my 3 boys, and I lived overseas in Spain for 2 years. And I also studied Japanese in college. I'm all about international and uniting people together through culture and business. And when I went to the Clearwater Citizens Academy, I thought it would be an opportunity to volunteer and contribute to my community.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. And do you want to, we've got Amber and
I'm Amber Bryce, Arts and Cultural Affairs Coordinator for the City of Clearwater. I've been in this role for just over a month, formerly of the Clearwater Library. Very lovely to meet you all and look forward to working with you all.
me too. And she's new too. But have you met everybody already?
Yes, I'm Nicole Sprague. I'm with the city clerk's office with the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to new business item 4.1, recognize Candy Hayes.
So I would like to recognize former board member Candy Hayes. If Candy could come up here. So Candy was recognized at the last board meeting that you all had in July of last year, but she wasn't present, so I wanted to be here today so we could formally recognize her. Candy served on the Sister City Advisory Board for 8 years. She's also served on the Clearwater Sister Cities, Inc. board for 13 years and continues to do so. She served as president of that board for 8 years. She's been on the delegation trip to Nagano with the city and has been instrumental in helping with the Sister Cities, Inc. Young Ambassadors Program. On a personal note, she's taught me a lot about the history of the Sister Cities as well as helped me navigate being on my first nonprofit board. She's one of the kindest people. She has a real willingness to help and be involved in the community. So I just want to say thank you, Candy, for your volunteer service and to Clearwater and for being a positive force for good. Thank you.
It's also a privilege to serve on the board. I did enjoy my time here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 4.2, recognizing Sally Park.
So next I would like to recognize one of our board members that passed away last year, Sally Parks. She sat on this board for many years as well as on the board of the Clearwater Arts Alliance. I did not know Sally personally, but I knew of her, and I would like to read an excerpt of her obituary. Sally Parks of Palm Harbor passed away November 9th, 2022. She was an inveterate traveler who visited 70 countries and all of the continents. She lived in Japan for 1.5 years, where she met her second husband, Reverend Dr. Alden Matthews. They were together happily for 24 years before his death in 2014. She would always make the most of every experience of a place and its people. You could say she was sort of a one-woman United Nations. Until recently, she was an Airbnb superhost welcoming guests from around the world. Sally was involved in a number of community activities, but what she valued most was the time and relationships with both her family and friends. She had a strong moral compass and was known to say, "If not me, then who? If not now, then when?" She truly made a difference in our healthcare, the environment, economic development, civic engagement, philanthropy, good government, and more. So we honor her and her volunteer service today.
We have a little
And-
moment of silence for her. Thank you.
And I would like to add just to that, that the advisory board appreciation events are set to resume this year. So I'll be sure to let the proper people know so that these two wonderful women can be honored at that event as well.
That's great. Thank you. All right. Item 4.3, review the Nagano Sister City program budget.
The Nagano Sister City Program fund balance is $206,337.46. This amount does not reflect the high school trip plane tickets that were purchased last week, which were approximately $11,000. It also does not include the polos that were purchased, the polo t-shirts for the high school, the middle school, and the teacher exchange trips, which were approximately $900. As most of you know, the official delegation trip that was scheduled for 2019 was canceled because of a typhoon. The trip that was rescheduled for 2020, we had a pandemic, so that didn't happen. So the official delegation has not been to Japan since 2014, and we have not hosted a delegation since 2015. In addition, the high school trip has not gone to Japan since 2019. So the funds that are allocated into this budget every year for this trip have accumulated over the last 8 years, and that's why the balance is so high.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions or for Amber about the budget?
Does the city pay for the exchange students, for the students too? Is that funded by the city, or is it funded by the Sister Cities Incorporated?
So the Sister Cities Incorporated does the middle school trip,
Right.
and we provide the polo t-shirts for them. The high school trip is funded by the city, or the plane tickets are funded by the city.
Nagano actually supplies the money for the high school trip besides the plane tickets and some gifts and the polo shirts and things like that, so. All right. All right, item 4.4, review and update on the status of the Nagano exchange programs.
So we are very happy to announce that the Nagano exchange programs will start up again this year. The high school trip, which consists of 4 Clearwater High School residents and 1 teacher chaperone, will go to Nagano from June 22nd to July 3rd. The middle school trip, which consists of 6 students and 3 adults, will be going to Nagano and other cities around Japan from June 6th to June 20th.
I just want to add to that, the middle school program, which is run by Clearwater Sister Cities, Inc., is going with 6 students and 3 chaperones, which is a little odd for us. We usually have 2 chaperones, but that third is to make sure that we are training for future, and we do have somebody that's familiar with that program, because our director of the Young Ambassadors program has stepped down this year, and we'll have a new director in for next year, who's one of our chaperones, and then we're training to always have somebody familiar with that program. As with the city, this is our first year back since 2019, so.
Thank you for clarification.
All right, let's see, review and update on the status of the 65th delegation trip.
So the 65th official delegation was originally scheduled for October of this year. With all the changes within the city, the trip has been pushed back to October of 2024, and then in February of 2025, Clearwater will host the delegates from Japan.
In February of 25.
Yes, it's usually the year after we go to Japan, they come here.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or discussion about that?
Yeah, disappointed it was postponed, but I guess
Yeah.
there's some substantial reasons for it.
How long is the trip? It's a long flight to Japan. How long is the trip?
I believe it's been 10 days in the past.
Do you know typically who goes on that trip, and with it being in honor of the 65th anniversary, if that will be a bigger effort for a bigger trip going or a bigger trip visiting us in those years?
So in the past, it was a much larger group, so people in the community could go. Recently, it was just the board, city manager, city officials, the Arts and Cultural Affairs coordinator, and that's it. It was a smaller group. Spouses of the board could go as well. For the 65th, I mean, we haven't even started planning it yet, so we are open to suggestions if you think that's something we want to do. obviously the city could only pay for the people that work with the city.
I don't think it should be too big, a delegation that kind of imposes on Japan.
Right, we have to have homestays and things like that
Right.
to take into account, yeah.
Just curious.
All right. Item 4.6, discuss Clearwater's potential sister city relationship with Ixmiquilpan, Mexico.
Pronounce that.
I know you said that so well.
I know.
I've been a Spanish teacher for 34 years, so.
There you go.
Help me with some of these last names then. On April 18th, myself, Samantha Moulet, who has taken over a lot of the Sister Cities duties before I came into this position, as well as the city manager, Jennifer Poirier, and the mayor Ungst, sat down with Juan Bashkahai Cantero from the Florida Federation of Hidalganese Group, Corp., and Javier de la Vega Vargas, who is with the Mexican consulate in Orlando. We discussed moving forward with the relationship of Clearwater and Ixmiquilpan becoming official sister cities. Since everyone who was involved in those initial conversations is no longer with the city, we felt it was best to take a pause and regroup and meet with them and figure out what that relationship should look like on our side as well as on Ixmiquilpan's side. The city manager was very apologetic that all the momentum of the relationship had been halted, but both cities expressed that they were still interest, and I'm currently working with our city attorney to draft an official agreement. We're hoping to have that done in the next couple of months.
Great.
Yeah, I'd like to add something. I think it's in 2023, it makes perfect sense based on the large Hidalgo population here in Clearwater proper, unlike other regions of Florida, and it'd be a great gesture of kindness and respect to the locals that live here, originally born in Hidalgo. So it'd be nice to have a kickoff and a celebration, a great way to unite Clearwater, considering recent events in Clearwater. I think it'd be an opportunity to celebrate a victory.
Great.
One of the things that I had brought up in one of our past meetings, and I'd love to see if, I don't know if you probably haven't had time to research or look more into it, but with sister cities, it's usually about uniting two foreign and separate communities. And so it's really unique, and I was wondering if there are other examples within Sister Cities International of cities where they do have larger populations of that partner sister city, just so that we have ideas as the advisory board, but also so Clearwater Sisters, Inc. can also begin to think how we as a volunteer organization may partner with the city and what that looks like for a relationship where you do have an existing community while you're also communicating, but while you're also coordinating for an international relationship with the population in that other country.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't researched that, so that is something.
Well, you don't have to. Just right across the bridge in Asturias, Tampa has a sister city relationship with Oviedo, España. And there's a lot of people from Asturias that reside in Tampa, hence the sister city relationship with Oviedo, Spain. It's a very rich, historic sister city relationship. So it'd be a great reference point for us to do some benchmarking with regarding your point.
Great.
Tampa should be a good resource. I think they have, 7 sister cities?
Seven,
7 or
yeah.
8. So they've got that process down.
Yeah.
So they would be a great resource.
Okay, we'll reach out to them.
I've got some contacts over there too if you need help with that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Alfred Newman, is a contact of mine. He's one of the point pros for the mayor.
Thank you.
Alfred Goldberg.
All right, let's go to 4.7, discuss potential Japanese Lantern Festival.
So when I worked at the library, we had started planning for a Japanese Lantern Festival. We were going to partner with the Sister Cities, Inc. and the CRA. Now that I've moved into this position, I can help facilitate that event from the cultural affairs side of things. We have a meeting scheduled for July 27th, right before the next advisory board. This is going to be with the Special Events Department, as well as Sister Cities, Inc., myself, the library, and the CRA. Ideally, we want this event to look like the lantern festivals that they have in Nagano. I have a photo. I'll put it over. It's given us trouble before. So we would like something like this. People could cut out the paper themselves. We could have the lanterns, ideally in Coachman Park. We could have fun cultural elements such as Japanese kimono, green screen, tea ceremony, sushi rolling classes, music, food, art that shows off the Japanese culture. We'd like to have this annually in February, ideally to coincide with the delegation trip that would be here in 2025. If anybody on the board has some ideas or would like to be involved in any way, please let me know.
Are you aware that Clearwater always participates in Nagano's Lantern Festival?
Yes.
Every year? Okay, good.
It's kind of where the idea
Because it would be
came from,
fun
yeah.
to have them, ask them to send some designs as well, like we send designs there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What does it signify? I mean, what is it related to, the Lantern Festival?
I think it's just a winter festival that they have. Like the weather is nice and they just show off the art of the locals, but then also Clearwater sends in panels as well. They used to have a competition, actually. Candy's daughter won one of the competitions because she hand cut out a bunch of flowers, but I'm not 100% sure on the cultural. Stephanie maybe will know.
In Japan, most communities have some type of a lantern festival, usually around the springtime. I'm not sure of the historical significance. Like in the autumn, there's always a fall festival about the harvest, and there's usually fire involved with that. But in the winter, you do see a lot of lantern festivals, and then sometimes you see it in the summer as well. In the northern regions, they actually have, how do you describe them? They're always translated as lantern festivals, but it's basically like papier-mâché sculptures that are carried through the streets. And really today, it's a festival, it's a celebration, but it's not always tied to a religious or specific holiday, like we would have a 4th of July parade or something.
Yes.
And a lot of festivals in Japan are just celebrating the aesthetic, the beauty of the things. A lot of, some cities are famous for having wooden structures that they parade through that have really intricate, puppet shows and things like that inside of them, and like the fire festivals, and there are tons of festivals, so.
What we've learned from Nagano is that they also kind of tie this into things that are happening at the temple, at Senkoji Temple. So you actually walk up through the lanterns and you end up at the temple at one point, and they have an event at night where they are using light projection and light mapping, and they have like a digital light show that they've incorporated over the past couple years. So something to think about for here as well. I'm sure there's a lot of digital mapping we could do on the building and on that,
That would be cool.
that giant canopy for the new
Yeah.
center.
Yep.
I like the idea because I don't think most people in Clearwater really know we have that exchange.
Right.
So to have some sort of cultural demonstration or festival would be a nice way of breaking that out to.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's one of the earlier sister city relationships. So
Yeah.
65 years is pretty
Amazing.
impressive, especially when I am on the calls with other sister cities. A lot of them are 30 years, 40 years, so 65 is pretty impressive.
It is.
All right.
All right, I don't see any old business. Director's report.
So I'd like to welcome new board member, Robert Cantor. I think you made your introduction earlier, but just wanted to say welcome.
Great, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here to learn and maybe help a little bit and contribute. It is impressive, 65 years. I did some research in preparation for volunteering, and most sister cities don't have that history. I do have a question, though, in terms of Japan. Like right now, I spent a lot of time in Clearwater on the streets, and I have not met one Japanese person who's a native from Clearwater. Are there any Japanese folks that live in Clearwater?
Yes.
There are.
Yeah, there
Sure
is a
there
smaller population in the Tampa Bay area, and in this area, we did have a board member up until this past year who was from Nagano,
Okay,
who resettled here without also knowing that there was a sister city relationship.
great.
And we try to engage that population, but it's not as centered as other communities that you've seen immigrate into the area, but there are a lot. The relationship actually started, you probably read it, but the mayor from Nagano visited 3 different cities, and so felt when he visited that we are one of the friendliest, and also, it was a great example of how there's two great communities that have tourism as a big backbone of their economic, area and their community. And so they have winter and they have the mountains and we have more summer and the beach. And so it was a good parallel to have different examples that still had similarities.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that.
And I would also like to say officially, congratulations to our board member Stephanie Schill. Her and her husband welcomed a new baby boy on February 15th.
Right.
Thank you.
To get him to all the exchange programs. 2 years.
Sign up.
That's right.
We do have one open seat on the board, which is Sally Parks' seat. It needs to be filled by somebody from the Clearwater Arts Alliance. That is in the ordinance. Nobody from that organization has expressed interest yet. I'm hoping that seat will be filled by our next board meeting. And then
Amber, do we have a student member right now?
she just couldn't come today.
I see.
Yeah. And then I wanted to remind everybody, if you'd like to serve on a second term on the board, you do have to officially reapply. So our next board member whose term expires is actually Stephanie Chill in July of this year. The next would be Pam Benton in January of 2024. So the city clerk's office should send you an email, a reminder. So just make sure you respond to that so you can stay on the board. And then lastly, some exciting news that I just got about an hour ago from our department director. He spoke with our legal team, and there's been a lot of talk in the past about a Sister Cities, Inc. scholarship, the city-funded scholarships, to help send one of the middle school students on their trip. It's been going back and forth for probably since 2018, very least. And I'm happy to say that this is something we can move forward with. We're going to draft a memo of understanding. The scholarship will need to go to a Clearwater resident. Maybe we can discuss something about having myself or someone in my department pick the recipient of the scholarship, but we could leave it up to the judgment of the Clearwater Sister Cities. Trust they'll be good stewards of the money. So that's really exciting. Excited to move forward with that.
That is exciting.
Yes.
Another thing that Candy initiated.
Yes. Yeah. I'm happy she's here to hear it. So.
On behalf of Candy and the board, we thank the city of Clearwater and look forward to working through what that process looks like.
That's all I have for the director's report.
All right. Do we need to have an election?
Yes, so this is your first meeting of the year, so you need to elect a new chair and a new chair and a new vice chair, unless somebody wants to throw their hat in the ring.
How about you?
New vice chair again.
My only hesitation ever is that I don't live in Clearwater. I live in St. Petersburg. So it seems to me it might be better to have someone from Clearwater be the chair of the committee. I've served as vice chair a number of times, but
It's not an ordinance of this board in
I
particular
understand.
that it has to be a Clearwater resident.
right.
I'm fine with that. I'm also happy to be chair or vice chair. I just moved from St. Petersburg, so I'm not too far now officially in Clearwater, but definitely I know that it's long.
Okay.
Have to make a motion.
You'd rather not?
I don't care. I'd be happy to. It's easy.
Okay.
It's a good organization.
Yeah. I nominate you.
Thank you.
Second.
Are there further nominations? I accept the nomination. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. For vice chair, I nominate Stephanie.
Second?
Are there further nominations? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
No platform speeches or anything?
All right. If there's no further business,
I would like to just give a brief
Sure.
update from Clearwater Sister Cities. As we mentioned earlier, our students are leaving on June 6th to go on their trip. We also had our annual meeting last week and voted in our new board. We have 2 new board members who joined who are new to the organization, which actually brings us to overall 4 people who sit on our board who are Pinellas County educators, which is really wonderful insight to have them as board members and partners as we reinvigorate the Young Ambassadors program, but also bring back other activities, especially family and adult-focused activities, so we have a different offering of programs. And we are having a fundraiser coming up next month, and if you are not on our email list, I encourage everyone to join, you just email clearwatersistercities@gmail.com. That way you can stay up to date with what we have going on, and we always encourage the board especially to come out to events. Doug, you've come to almost all of them, and we're so grateful for that support, and having you come out and talk to people about what Clearwater does with Sister Cities, I think is helping bring in even more members. We had about 35 people at the annual meeting, so it was a
It
great
was a good
turnout.
meeting. Yep.
And that's my little update.
Do you guys plan a slate of activities for the year, or is the planning done kind of as you go along?
We try to do as a year. I think we get kind of
Okay.
like seasons.
Because,
so,
I almost never get to go to anything, but it's because I find out 3 weeks before it's
Yeah.
happening, and I'm booked 3 years in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if the schedule were out there a little bit.
yeah, we've started putting out a newsletter, and I have to send out the April newsletter. But that has up through what we're expecting to do through the end of summer.
Gotcha.
So there'll be a couple events,
Okay.
the fundraiser, but then we're also going to host a virtual exchange again with Nagano in July, after the return of the students.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right, any other board members to be heard?
The status you said has been tabled as far as the exchange with Mexico.
No, we're moving ahead with it.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, we just have to get a formal agreement written up, and both sides have to agree, and then
Okay.
we'll have an official signing.
Yeah, last year, I don't remember which meeting it was at, but there were folks who came from the local group, and they were so excited, and they spoke at the meeting, and I think that's really exciting. But I don't think we ever got to the point of that formal agreement, so.
We actually visited the city council meeting as well, and they also were very excited, and it was nice to see.
Yes.
All right, any other members to be heard?
In terms of responsibilities could you remind us, besides attending the meetings and being active, are there any extraordinary, expectations for us financially, or?
No.
I'm sure I understand.
No, I can send you a copy of the ordinance, what the board's role actually
I
is.
the whole packet, which was giant, but just to make sure that I meet the expectations.
Yeah, just the 4 meetings a year, which this year was 3, so just the quarterly meetings, and then any other suggestions, advice for the Lantern Festival, things like that, we look to you all for advisement for that.
Great opportunity.
All right. Anything further? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.
All right. Hammer, hammer.
Thank you.